So we're gonna cook up a little breakfast before we go harvest our year's supply of chaga. We got some sweet potato sourdough pancakes, some breakfast sausage, we do a couple eggs from the hens, and also a little bit of orange peel, raisin, chai, sourdough, and our little bit of cranberry jam. All right, well, we are gonna head out and do a little chaga harvesting. So we're gonna go take a look around the homestead and see what we can find. So we found our first chaga pretty high up a tree, which is pretty common. You'll see them high up birch. So right there, about halfway up this birch tree, that burnt looking mass on the birch, that is chaga. That is what we're looking for. Next time, hopefully it'll be a little bit lower. We're gonna keep going and see if we can find any more a little more accessible. Well, there is another chaga. So here's another couple that we can actually reach. So chaga, it's a sterile conch, and they grow in the wounds of the birch tree. And I believe the only way they actually spread is if the birch falls over on the ground. And they take a long time to mature, so even upwards of 20 years, I believe, to mature. So you want to be really mindful about how you harvest. We're only going to take a little bit, maybe 30% of it. That'll be it. So you can use a hammer or an axe to harvest chaga. I find a handsaw is the best way or easiest way for me. So we're going to go ahead and cut this down. There we go.
Nice little piece of chaga. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and leave the rest of that. We'll let it fill out, and we'll keep an eye on it over the years. We'll harvest it as we can. Some sort of big nest up there. Looks like maybe an eagle's nest.
These rose hips are still hanging on and they're still sweet.
That is so fast. I heard a woodpecker.
Whoa.
Beautiful pieces of chaga. I'm gonna go in there and have Dennis cut these up into small pieces, and then we're gonna dry them out.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and try to break these up into small pieces, and then we're gonna stick them over by the wood stove to dry. A little frozen, I think.
So we are going to start processing through our chaga a bit here. It's wonderful immune support. It is really rich in antioxidants, chaga is, and it has been an old folk medicine in northern climates for a very long time. So what we like to use throughout the year is tea and tincture. So for our teas, we will chunk up those big, beautiful chagas into smaller bits and then dry them very well by the wood stove. Chaga is prone to mold, so you definitely want to make sure your chaga is nice and dry before you put it into your dry storage. And once it goes into that dry storage, we just put them in mason jars, put them in a dark cabinet. They are set until you want to make tea. For a tincture is just an extract. Most often you will see menstruums of either alcohol or glycerin. I am going to use alcohol today, Brandy is very popular. Vodka is very popular because you get that flavor of whatever it is you are extracting, which helps the medicinal benefit. For a tincture, all you're going to do is take a glass jar and fill it about 1/2 to 3/4 of the way with your chosen herb, in my case, chaga. Top it with your alcohol or your chosen menstruum, and then cap it. And you're going to let that sit 4 to 6 weeks. Give it a shake every now and again if you want. If not, no worries. And then strain it out into your dropper bottles. And these dropper bottles are how you're going to dose your tinctures. I'll go ahead and show you how we make this. Okay, so we have our beautiful chaga in our nice mason jar here. I am gonna fill it with the alcohol, and that's it for a tincture. Okay, there you go. Make sure to label them so you always remember when you infused them, when you gotta strain them. But this guy is gonna sit on our counter or on our shelf in the cabinet, nice cool dark place, and then in 4 to 6 weeks I will pay to visit and strain it out into our dropper bottles.
Here. Hey, no!
Did you show your stick?
That's okay, she can have it. Can I help? Yes, I would love to help, Dad.
I know a lot of people will typically sprinkle this in their garden. I'm not exactly sure what it does when you sprinkle it in your garden, but I know my grandparents had done it and they've always had a beautiful garden. I've always used it to help melt ice, especially when salt and sand isn't available. It's a good use for it. If not, I just toss it off to the side of the compost pile and then I mix everything together. So I'm just going to show you very quickly how to make a fire in a wood stove if you have never done it before. Start with your smallest pieces of dry wood or kindling, and then you want to stack it in there in some manner that allows airflow. So typically what I'll do is just go with something like that. You know, and these are, you could start with smaller pieces of kindling if it makes it easier. This is just what I have, and this stuff's really dry, so it's gonna go. Put that guy on the top. Throw you back there too. So the next thing you're gonna do is put your starter in there, whatever you're using to get it going. That could be cardboard, it could be just paper bags from the grocery store. I'm using birch here. You can also use pine cones, pine needles, pine sap, just the dry brush off a pine tree works. Some sorts of moss like old man's beard. We're gonna use birch, and what I do is I just take it and I just rip it up into small pieces, and I'll get, this stuff's a little wet, but even when it's wet, you just bunch it up. And there it goes. Stick that down under there like that, and then I just keep feeding it. Just a little at a time. The basics of how a wood stove works is it drafts air in from your house and then out the chimney. So you want to make sure that you have good air. So here's the draft on the wood stove, and you want to make sure your draft is all the way open when you're lighting a fire. When you have a nice bed of coals and it's going and you want to dampen it down, then you can, this just basically adjusts airflow in the wood stove. So wide open is a lot of airflow, and that's all the way closed. We want it all the way open when we're lighting it. And there you have it. Once that burns down a little bit, you can go ahead and start adding some bigger pieces of wood. We'll add those next once we get going there. We could probably even stick this one on top now and we'd be fine. You can actually just crack the door like this and it almost acts as a blower and it will force air right in there. But there you have it. That's basically how to make a fire in a wood stove.
So we are going to do a little fermenting today. We have not bought pickles from the store in many years because of this recipe, and it only takes water and salt. So instead of your conventional pickling, like with vinegar and then you can the pickles, fermenting, you just mix the water and the salt to dissolve, top it off with some cold water, and then you throw your cukes in there and any spices you want, and then you ferment it. And that's it. So you don't need like a stone crock like I have here. You can do it in a regular mason jar. The trick is just keeping everything under the liquid. So my recipe is 2 tablespoons per quart jar. And then I'll heat up about a cup of water and I will mix that 2 tablespoons of salt with the cup of water and top it off with cold water and let that cool completely, and then add my cukes and my spices. We like them because they are probiotic rich and they're just a really good topping for sandwiches and whatnot. So my crock is 1 gallon. I'm gonna do 2, 4, 6, 8 tablespoons total. 8. And then when you're lacto-fermenting vegetables, I've found that I have the best luck when I use really high quality salt, high quality water, and then high quality vegetables too. So everything high quality, everything turns out much better. I'm gonna fill this up to like 4 cups. This around to try to dissolve that. Okay, so now that I have my salt and my water all mixed up, I'm going to let this cool completely. And then when this is cool completely, I'll throw it in my crock here and then I'll top it with cold water. Throw my cukes, my spices in, and then just submerge it and wait. You just wait a few days until you want to go and check those and see if they're sour enough. Let's put this in the snow. So you want the brine to be completely cool when you do add your cucumbers and your spices. So our brine is nice and cool. It's ready to get going into this crock. Okay. Add the pickles. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it's a lot of pickles.
Did I miscalculate? No, I think I'm perfect.
No, perfect.
Okay. Beautiful. Weights are on there. They're nice and submerged. So this is gonna sit in the corner here. It's really to your taste. So the longer you let it sit, the more sour you're gonna get. We kind of like a sour pickle. So anywhere between 5 to 7 days, I'll come back and take one out and taste test it. Sit it over there and wait.
So we're gonna take a ride to the feed store. It's a little over an hour away. We gotta get some supplies and some shavings for the hens so we can get their coop ready for the long cold months ahead. We got some gas and we're gonna head over to the feed store. Just seen a big coyote running across the lake. He was pretty smart. The second we rolled the window down, he was gone. Got a dust in the snow on a sheet of ice here, so we're gonna back it down about 10 miles an hour for the rest of the way home. So we're gonna go ahead and change the bedding out in the chicken coop. We're gonna add a heat lamp and a heated water bowl to keep the water from freezing, and we're gonna try to keep egg production up for the winter. So I'm going to put a nice bedding of straw down, and then on top of that we're going to do wood chips. Okay, we got our straw down. Now we're going to go ahead and add a bag of wood chips, maybe 2 bags of wood chips. We'll see how it goes. This was only supposed to be a temporary coop. I believe this was actually someone's attempt at some sort of root cellar. But it's a good place to overwinter them. You don't really need a heck of a lot. You don't need this light or that plug-in water bowl, really. You know, you could just pour hot water in every day. We've done that before. Really, you just need something to break the wind. Though if you don't supplement light and they don't have a lot of water, you won't get the egg production. Some light, so bet you'll get some eggs.
It's a blue sapphire. So we got all our hens from Polaris Poultry down in Palmer, Alaska. He just gave us a little mix of all his cold hardy breeds that lay the best through winter. They're really beautiful birds. We've always got really healthy birds from them, and we're really happy with them. So I think they're going to be really happy with this new coop. All right, so the kitchen is busy on the homestead today. We got a chicken noodle soup going, some homemade chicken noodle soup that we're gonna have for dinner. We have our pickles over there in the big crock. They have been fermenting a couple days. They're doing great. Can't wait to try those. And now we're gonna make a batch of sauerkraut, which we love to have on hand, also in a crock. And it's super easy. All you need is cabbage and salt. Start by coring these cabbage and shredding them up. I like to save the outer leaf, and I will use it as the top to push them down under the water. The whole crock might be close to it. I had real fresh dill and garlic anyway, but I just like to push a whole leaf down. Yeah, it's a nice buck knife, yeah. For the... Okay, the cabbage is all shredded up. The next step is we add our salt, which is about 4 to 5 teaspoons per 2.5 head of cabbage, 2.5 pound head of cabbage. So I had about 2 heads here, both about 2 pounds. So I'm gonna do about 4 teaspoons of good unrefined salt in each of these bowls. Mix them around and then let them sit about 15 minutes, and then I will massage it and then put it into my crock there.
While Amy's finishing up the sauerkraut, I'm going to go ahead and make us a quick lunch. Like that. Here you go. We got some of our eggs, some brie cheese, some homemade sourdough bread, some elk pepperoni, and some apples. Looks delicious.
So this has been sitting for about 15 minutes now. I'm going to start massaging it to get all these beautiful juices out. And then at that point, I'm going to take and stuff it down into my crock. So we're going to try something a little new and do a dill garlic kraut, so almost like a pickle kraut. Yes, it smells great. Okay, let's see how far under the... We want it like as far under our liquid as we can. So I just took a cabbage leaf, one of the outer leaves of the cabbage, and I put it right on the top of the sauerkraut. And I pushed everything down to make sure all the liquid is nice and covering everything there. You don't want anything popping up out. And you can either take one of these little glass fermenting weights, or you can do like a clean stone, like a smooth river stone or something, and put it on there. Try to weight it down to keep it submerged. And you can check on this periodically too throughout the fermenting process to make sure everything's nice and submerged and nothing's popping out. You don't have to have crocks. You can use just a glass jar, and that's fine too. Let's check on the pickles. Oh yeah, she's doing nice. Anywhere from 1 to 4 weeks, the cabbage is gonna sit in there. It depends, again, how sour you like it. Usually for us, we're around the 3 to 4 week mark when we start moving it to cold storage and refrigerating. Okay, so that's it. We're just gonna sit this guy here, and then in about 3 weeks, we will taste test it and see if it's sour to our liking. And at that point, we'll pop them in some little mason jars and put it in the fridge. Mama is gonna make a pie.
But please, could it help with that?
Come here.